Hi, hello, and welcome everyone. Doc Aviv is delighted to host filmmakers Jim Lebrecht and Nicole Newman in collaboration with Netflix to discuss their film Crip Camp. The film is available to watch on Netflix, and this conversation will be available afterward on Doc Aviv's website and YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Dr. Slava Greenberg, and I invite you to leave your questions and the Q&A feature on Zoom. And for those of you watching on Facebook, you may leave your questions in the comments. And for everyone else to view closed captions, please click the CC button on Zoom. Hi, Jim and Nicole. So happy to have you here.
Great to be here.
And the opportunity to talk to you about your amazing new film, which has gone beyond any imaginable success a documentary could have. And I was just telling you how I was walking around the streets in LA, seeing huge billboards of the film, which is something that I've never seen for a documentary film before. So how is it for you with all the success?
I can start. I think that it's been humbling. It's been exciting. It's been incredibly rewarding. That what Nicole and I wanted to do was to start conversations and change perceptions around disability, and having the film being well received and people knowing about it and seeing the film. I think that we've been able to be pretty successful in what we wanted to do.
I totally agree. The sort of metaphor I keep thinking about when thinking about what it feels like, it is Horton Hears a Who. It feels like we started so scrappy and small. We would be bringing this black and white footage of a crabs outbreak at a summer camp for disabled teenagers in the 1970s to funders, and just thinking like, are they going to buy into our vision that this film could really, make a huge difference in the world because of the power of the community that was created at this camp, and the way that it's so vividly evoked through that footage, and then that camp's connection to this, major movement, civil rights story that has until now not been known. But the reason it hasn't been known is because people have not wanted to think about disability stories. They haven't taken them seriously. They haven't heard them, So when the film premiered at Sundance, everybody said, why didn't I know this story? Why didn't I know this story? And Judy Heumann said, well, you're a bunch of really well-educated film people. Why don't you ask yourselves that question? Maybe you never wanted to hear it, So it feels like the billboards and everything, it's really exciting because it feels like it's being heard, and that's just that was our goal.
Yeah, so I started from now, but we better go back to the beginning where this whole idea started. How did that come about, or what did you want to make a film about initially? Was it the camp or the disability rights movement, or what came first, or was it both from the get-go?
Really the genesis of all of this was a conversation that Nicole and I had over lunch about 6 years ago. And I had worked on her 3 previous feature-length documentaries, and the last one, Revolutionary Optimist, was just wrapping up. And we've gotten to know each other as friends, but I also deeply love her work. And I've been looking for people to make films around disability that I wasn't seeing. And I pitched a few ideas, but literally kind of sheepishly on the way back to the building after lunch, I said to Nicole, I've always wanted to see a documentary about my summer camp. I think there's a connection there to the disabled civil rights movement. And I started telling her a little bit about Camp Jeanette and this incredible place. And that that really piqued your interest. Thank goodness.
Yeah, first, when he said that, I've always wanted to see a film made about my summer camp. I was both intrigued because he said it with this, level of kind of like passion and intensity that intrigued me, as your friend. But then also I was like, oh my God, everyone had this powerful experience at summer camp, but not everybody's summer camp needs to be a documentary, But then when he started talking about it, I realized I was getting pictures in my mind that were pictures that completely shattered the tropes and stereotypes that I hold in my mind around disability. And it was so fascinating and exciting to think of, like, how could a film evoke a world like that did exist, but nobody knows it existed, and it's still kind of futuristic, to imagine a place that's completely egalitarian across race, disability, et cetera. And so, I've always been fascinated by the idea of kind of utopian communities and in film. And I think a lot of the narratives around them vis-a-vis the 60s and 70s have been like that. You kind of show how the utopia was created, and then you show how it, devolved
shattered
time and was shattered and became a disaster. But this is not a disaster film. It's more like the superhero film, It's more like the utopia is the superhero origin story. And and so
the superhero really comes across pretty well throughout the film, I think. For me, one of the most remarkable scenes in the film is not in the camp segment, but it's in the part that details the disability rights movement, and there's a beautiful scene of how the deaf community members become the sort of superheroes of that scene, secret spies conveying messages. And it was done completely in the opposite way of the way we normally see super Crips in mainstream media. So it was sort of using the trope of the super Crip, but in a completely different context of using those superpowers to help the disability rights movement. So that was, it had all these moments in that scene of both the revolutionary aspect of that, but also I think was kind of funny to think about it through the lens of a super Crip in the service of the community.
Well, I mean, I think that if I could just, for people who don't know kind of the super Crip term, maybe we should explain that for a second. There's this kind of, there's a lot of tropes around disabilities, and a lot of them are like, gee, I've overcome my disability because I was able to climb this mountain, or I've won 40 Olympic medals or such. And it's like, okay, you're the super Crip, okay? Now, hold that for a second. But there are a lot of people with disabilities really truly believe that, my disability is kind of one of my superpowers. It is like my advantage because I see the world differently. I've learned how to improvise very quickly because I've really been forced to. And so for people that may not have seen our film, what we're talking about here is that there's a moment during this 26-day takeover of a federal building where the FBI shut off the payphones in the offices there, all the phones. And as Corbett says, well, the deaf community went, well, we know what to do. And they simply could just sign out the window to people down on the ground. And that's how they got their press releases out. And that's how we got information, or they got information back into the room. So, I'm glad you touched upon that. It's a really wonderful, joyous moment in the film.
Yeah, it's an incredible scene. It just stays with you forever after that. And especially after seeing the exact opposite on all types of degrading representations of people with disability in more mainstream films. So that just both reacts to it and also offers something completely different, which is also a real significant historic moment, is not, and it's put beautifully in the film. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is something that you just said, Nicole, about the camp and what you were thinking about the camp and how I don't know if you used the word progress, but it sounded like that to me, that we think about progress in certain ways, and then we look at this camp and we think, okay, there was practicing different types of inclusion that are still not something that we see. So it was both utopian and futuristic, but also tells something about progress and the way we think about progress, and especially in terms of thinking about representations of people with disability. People often think, well, there's so much progress, and then we watch your film, and it puts it in a completely different perspective, the whole idea of what progress is and what that may mean. So it was.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I mean, I really agree. One of the things that was really hard for us to get right in the film was we felt really passionately that people who were watching it had to feel like they were going to camp. They had to feel like they were immersed in the camp, and they had to go through the same learning journey that the campers did, because for instance, like, it wasn't like a utopia that just kind of sprang into being. It was a utopia that was crafted through learnings, by both the administrators, the counselors, and the campers, kind of jointly as a community. And so when we first started stringing scenes together, putting it together, it felt more like we were presenting this camp, and we had to figure out, how do we actually make it feel like a journey towards that kind of scene at the end where people are sitting around the table and they're giving everyone respect and patience, and you really see how an inclusive community was formed. And that was so important for us because, we get a lot of emails from people saying, like, I want to have a Crip Camp event and I want to make it inclusive. So can you send me the checklist of things I need to do to make it inclusive? And we're always having to say, inclusion it's more of a stance and a values thing than a checklist thing. You basically have to have that core principle of really wanting to hear what everybody has to say and believing that it has value and seeing value in other people, which sounds kind of corny, but is you see in the film, like, how actually that was the strength and foundation of the movement later. So that when, the deaf folks raise their hands and are like, we can solve this problem that the FBI cut off the phones, it's not just that, like, that's cool, they have that skill set that's useful in that moment. It's like they've created a big tent community that has all these different people with all these different experiences and skill sets and perspectives, and that is a strength. So yeah, I think so many times we kind of look at progress as kind of a checklist or like this kind of goal-oriented thing. And I think there was something that we really loved about bringing it back to just like the simple values of how do you create a community of people who can have a discussion around a table, which is sometimes like the most elusive thing to try to get right.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that your sort of protagonist in the film is the movement, or those campers turning into revolutionary activists, bringing forth more just a civil rights movement that starts with this camp in the film. And so I was thinking about this this community as a protagonist, which is also something that is pushing back on those tropes that we usually see in documentary film about a person with a disability, and like Jim, you said, overcoming an obstacle, or it being seen as sort of a personal problem that someone has is a disability, rather than seeing a whole community and the community being the protagonist, and all these different relationships within that group turning into that one protagonist of that conversation that you were talking about between the members of that movement deciding on the best step to take for that movement. So that was also interesting, the choice of not picking one person, and through that, I mean, I'm sure it would have been easy enough to pick Judith to be sort of the face of the movement, and to show that through her or any other character in the film, but just leaving it as still the group and the community, I think was very interesting throughout the film.
I mean, our film really focuses on this camp and these people. And it's just one of, thousands of stories, right? And even, excuse me, I mean, the rights movement was going on before Camp Jeanette. I mean, this is so, if we wanted like dig into history, even going back further, there was a lot of things happening right after World War II. So it's, it is a very, very long story of rights, but this is definitely, places like Camp Jeanette were a huge spark in the modern movement.
Because people were coming together in community and becoming aware of how they were suffering common structural oppression, So yeah, that was that was very important to us, that the community was the protagonist, not any individual person. And it was tricky to get that balance right, because like you said, we do have this epic movement leader biography of Judy's story arc, which goes all the way from, wrangling the lasagna dinner to to changing the whole world through her leadership. And then we also had this, it was like an embarrassment of riches. We also had this really profound personal story of Jim, and Jim is a co-director, filmmaker, narrator, but we found we were constantly trying to pull it back from being the Judy Heumann biopic and pull it back from being the Jim Lebrecht personal film, and figuring out how do we balance all of that within the context of kind of serving the story of this larger community, and it was fun. It was fun to try to figure out how to do that, but challenging.
Yeah, and Jim, for you, I guess it was also quite challenging to make a film about your own sort of experiences in camp, but from a different angle. So it wasn't like your own personal experience of how it was for you in camp, but also to tell the larger story of the camp, maybe put some of your own going through memory lane aside for the benefit of the film. And also I was interested in how it was for you, maybe meeting some of them. I don't know if it was sort of a reunion for you with people you haven't seen in a long time, or did you pick the people that you were already in touch with and could trace, or did you have to do some research in finding some of the people?
I mean, I think, well, just about everybody, first of all, the folks from camp, we've been kind of staying in touch over the years. There's been a couple of reunions, and we even had a West Coast thing at my house a number of years ago. And but certainly was not as close or in daily contact. Neil and Denise Jacobson are part of the community here in the Bay Area, so I would see them at functions within the community and such. But Lionel and I hadn't really talked much, but boy, we have since then and during the making of the film, and it's been really quite lovely. I did not know, I mean, I was not inside for the 504, and I did not know Dennis Billups, and he's been someone who's been really wonderful to know and be in his company. And Corbin and I go back a long time. We've just been friends for a really long time. So didn't really have to dig up people per se, but didn't mean that there wasn't a lot of research that we still needed to do. I learned so much by making this film. I knew that there was something going on, and I knew about the 504 sit-in, but I was in college in San Diego at the time, and there was so much I learned that I didn't know. But the first person we called was Judy Heumann. When Nicole and I said we're going to do this thing, we picked up the phone and said, Judy, we have this theory that there's a connection between the camp and the movement. And she said, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess that was good to hear. Otherwise, it would have been more challenging to getting although for me it works. It's very convincing in the film how these two parts are intertwined and how one leads to the other. I think it works very well in the film.
One thing that's kind of amazing is that we uncovered footage of Genetians at marches and participating in the movement that the Genetians themselves didn't even remember participating in. You know, like we found the footage of Denise and Neil at that march in Washington, D.C., and they didn't really remember being there. But then I said, isn't this you? And Neil said, oh my God, that's me pushing my wheelchair backward. You know, he would push it backward and then it's like, there's Denise, you know? So, so that was really fun to sort of, you know, I think again, it's like, because the history was not being documented, memorialized, shown on TV repeatedly, like that there was so much of kind of just like a suppression of the story. I think even the people who were participants in it, you know, hadn't necessarily connected all the threads the way that we were able to do by just like over literally years, like pulling scraps of footage off of like an old Beta SP tape that was in some file box that was given to somebody at one time who was making a PSA kind of a thing, you know, because a lot of times the archives hadn't kept the actual masters of this material. So it was really painstaking to kind of visually pull it together, but just such a delight. Like, you know, for instance, the New York Times took pictures of that Madison Avenue demonstration, which you know, for people who study disability rights history, that's like a really important moment in history. But for a long time, we didn't think there were any photographs of it at all. And then we found 2 photographs in the collection of Dr. Bronston, who was a Willowbrook doctor and activist who participated in it. And we went up to Sacramento and found them in his photo album. And then we looked in the New York Times because somebody remembered there was a New York Times photographer there. And sure enough, in the archive, there was a whole contact sheet of photographs. And that enabled us to build an entire scene about it for the first time, you know? So it was really gratifying to be like, you know, proving the link between Jeanette and the movement visually, but also just like, you know, raising up and giving people a visual image of some of these really critical historical moments that hadn't been remembered.
Yeah, there's a lot of archival work here that lays out the story and archival material that I'm sure that a lot of it was hidden in the basements of a lot of the people and not even in an official archive somewhere. So the film also gathers all of that and makes it accessible, just details some of the moments in the movement that people have no access to the visual images and also the stories behind them that are in the film. And I have to ask you what I'm sure everybody's curious about. How did the connection with the Obama film production company happen, and how was it for you?
You want to tell the story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, first off, how it feels was like, oh my gosh, when this thing happened, it was just, I don't know, you know, you couldn't keep me from my head hitting the ceiling. I was just so high. But we have a wonderful executive producer, Howard Gertler. And Howard came on very early. He was one of the producers on How to Survive a Plague. And he had read in the trades that Higher Ground had started, the Obama's company, and their relationship with Netflix. And he approached Priya Swaminathan and said, there's this film, you really should look at our trailer. She says, we're not taking things on you. We're too new. We're just like getting our office open. And a little while later, one of our sales agents saw her at, I think it was at Toronto at the film festival, and said, you got to see this trailer for this film. It's amazing. She said, okay, I'll watch it. And she got back to us and said, I don't know what you guys have done, but I can't stop watching this thing. And at which point she said, I'd like to come up to Berkeley and hang out with you and Nicole. And so we spent a wonderful day with Priya, showing her all a lot of the black and white video footage and just getting to know each other and could we work together. And when she left after the day, 15 minutes later, she calls us from the parking lot because she's waiting for her car to show up and said, how did she put it, Nicole? Do you remember exactly how she put it?
She said, we want to roll up our sleeves and take on this project and tell this story with you. And the president and Mrs. Obama feel the same way, which was, pretty extraordinary to hear. And they really did. They were partners. They watched 3 cuts of the film and gave feedback. They worked tirelessly with us throughout the process of bringing it to completion. And they've been real champions for it getting out in the world. And having that platform for this story was deeply meaningful to us, and we know to other people in the community. It's really been a gift, but I would say just as much from kind of like a creative partnership aspect as from just the enormity and weight of the platform.
Yeah, I guess that really helped spread the word about the film and for more people to take it seriously before watching the whole film. Just in the first steps, it must be helpful for it to just to spread the word about the film, to have it backed up by the Obama film production company. So it does probably helps, and getting this sort of partnership for this film is I guess is amazing, and enabled the world to actually see it. And I think that one of the most, or at least one aspect that became very meaningful with the release of the film, and I know it's a weird timing and all for a release of the film. I mean, on one hand, it's weird because you don't get a live audience, but then it was released, I think, right at the beginning of the pandemic, when people just started quarantine, and it was on Netflix. So that also helped spread the word. And everybody was locked indoors watching Netflix all the time. So that was also a good thing to have. But then missing out on live audiences is also, but I guess it'll still have that sort of chance. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the toolkit, which is also being spread all over disability and media outlets all around the world, although this version of the toolkit is the UK version, and we're still waiting for the US one. But I just wanted to say that you have a 62, I think, page PDF document explaining or giving examples, and there are also interviews with you talking about the various ways in which you can screen in a more accessible kind of a way, screen films, and also about a more accessible production process. So can you maybe talk a little bit about that, and how you made the production process more accessible, and then to talk a little bit about maybe future screenings or how you imagine them to be?
The toolkit was something, it was an idea of Lindsay Dryden, she was really the spearhead for this thing. She's a wonderful producer that lives normally about half her time in the UK and half her time in Austin, Texas. And Lindsay and myself and 2 other people are founders of an organization called Forward Doc, which stands for Filmmakers with Disabilities - Documentary. And we kind of all met at the International Documentary Association a couple of years ago at when we were meeting in real life. And it was like the first convening of people with disabilities who were documentarians. So the work of Forward Doc, along with the Doc Society and Netflix UK, was really the support structure, but it was really trying to use Crip Camp as a kind of an example to talk about the practicalities of how do you make things accessible, or how do you go about doing this. And like we've been alluding to, it's all right, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? Well, could this document, it's not like you have to read all 62 pages at one time to know what you're doing, but as a resource and with links and such to really learn more and delve into it, to really understand the mindset behind it and some practicalities and get some really good information. And when I say mindset, there's one thing that I find myself saying a lot, things like accessibility, it has to be something you want to do, not something that you have to do. And when it's something that you want to do, all of a sudden the energy is there. The ability to make things happen magically has these superpowers. So we really hope that with the toolkit, that it made it easier for people to kind of go, I don't know where to begin. I'm scared. I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know, that this could really be something that would get us over that hump.
Thank you, Jim. I just want to pause for 1 second and remind viewers that you're welcome to leave your questions and comments in the Q&A feature of Zoom, because I can be hogging the conversation and asking all the questions. But if you want to jump in, so leave your questions in the Q&A and I'll read them out loud. Yeah. So in terms of it also links back to what Nicole was saying. It's not a checklist that you need to sort of go over to make your screening accessible. It's just a sort of mindset of, I guess, imagining, like Carrie Sandel, disability studies scholar, who co-wrote Code of the Freaks. So she has an interesting essay called "It's All the Same Movie," just talking about the different tropes in movies about film, about disability, and this notion of who is the general audience, and imagining who you want to see in your audience, and just thinking about including as many people as you can in your screening. So this sort of mindset would also advance more more options for more people to watch. And I also think that when you are able to maybe travel with your film and get it to different audiences, then yeah, I think also the feedback from that can make for another toolkit of screenings and different options of how to screen in ways that maybe we have not seen before. Different screenings that take under account more maybe other, not only embodiments, but also different perceptions, and not just in terms of senses, but not just senses and mobility, but how different people watch films differently, and maybe accommodate for different types of viewership in the film. Or I guess you have had a few public screenings that you can share feedback.
Yeah, we were able to go to Sundance and True False and had a screening at the Museum of Modern Art right before the pandemic. And even though that was a truncated festival run, it was really intense in terms of just like the learnings and the process around trying to make the screenings inclusive. Both, I think, like are working with festivals to try to push them to accommodate, not that they were unwilling partners, everybody wanted to try to, to accommodate, but but then also just like us learning our own awareness gaps, So, one example is that we were working really intensely with Sundance. They'd been a partner on the project. They funded the film. They were amazing. We dealt with a bunch of, kind of access issues around even their labs, which we were invited to their edit lab in the summer. And, trying to figure out how to make the resort and the screening room and all of the facilities at the lab accessible. And they worked really well with us, and they were really intentional about bringing the film to the festival. And they had closed captioning devices. And we had a huge screening where we had a deaf activist from the local area who was going to be moderating a panel with us. And she showed up for the screening in this giant auditorium in Salt Lake City, and the captioning devices failed. And she and another deaf journalist who were there were unable to see the film. Oh. And we got to the theater, and she came up to us and she said, "Why would you do that? Why didn't you just play the film with open captions?" And we said, "Oh, we thought the closed captioning devices were good." And she said, "Would you want to watch a film where you had to be looking down at a captioning device the whole time?" And it was like this major light bulb went off for us. We felt so bad. And that night, Netflix and Sundance and us, we all got together and we had an open caption version of the film made. And the rest of our screenings at Sundance, we just played the open caption version. And we had one screening.
Nicole, can I just interrupt you for 1 second? Can you just explain real quick the difference between open caption and closed caption so that people understand?
Yeah, sure. So open caption just means that the captions are playing on the screen like a subtitle. Mm-hmm. And closed caption means that there's a special device that's running those captions to the individual viewer who has a device that's connected to their seat, which they can look down at and see the captions that go along with the film. But obviously, it would be far preferable if you needed the captions to have them up on the screen. And so it was something that simple that was able to be turned around in a day. It wasn't a technical problem. It wasn't a financial problem. And it completely made the screenings accessible to people who were deaf and hard of hearing. And it was great, So then when we were going to the next festival, we just said we want all of our screenings in open captions, and that was fine. And we played, we did that at the Museum of Modern Art as well. We could go on and on for hours with stories like this, and that was just 3 festivals, Yeah. So I think there's so many questions, right, about should all films at festivals be open, just around the captioning, should they all be open captioned? Should festivals have, if they're having 3 screenings, just make sure one of them is open caption, and if there's only one, it should be but there's just, it's really kind of shocking actually to think that we're kind of, we're still having this conversation around something that's just so simple as an accommodation that means so much to so many people. And I'll never forget that same activist came to a Q&A that we had, and she said, if I can't get into theaters and see movies, how am I ever going to see myself as a filmmaker? And if I can't see myself as a filmmaker, how are we ever going to have my perspective, and worldview showing up on movie screens? And so I think that's kind of at the heart of all of these access questions for me.
And I'm sure that once you get more screenings, then you encounter more interesting questions that maybe things that we haven't thought about. And I'm always interested in how, for instance, solving this issue of captions, how it actually allows accessibility to people who are English is not their first language, and people who are migrants, and then they need the captions to be able to make sense of what's going on. And then by making something accessible to one group, I believe that it will always be made accessible to other people who we did not consider. And it'll be interesting just to gather all the reactions that you get and all these ideas within the community of how to make screenings just, I wouldn't even call it accessible, just plain old better and more interesting, I guess. There's a question I'll read it out loud. Was there something that surprised you during the work on the film? And were there any responses to the film that surprised you or you were especially excited about?
The surprises, I think, were uncovering things or having material show up really all the way up to the last moment. I mean, those were lovely surprises. But I think the responses that we've been seeing, either in emails or in online, 99% positive. And I recall early on seeing somebody that wrote on a Facebook thread that I was on that they felt the film made them feel knowable. And so there's a sense of pride and an identification where people felt like they really couldn't identify as a member of the disabled community, that now it felt like, you know what, damn it, it's okay. And I'm really, I'm happy to do this. I'm not gonna hide my disability if I have this ability to do that. Yeah, I have a hearing impairment and it affects my life. I've hidden it for so long, but now I'm okay. And why do people do that? They do that because of stigma. Oh my God, if you find out that I'm diabetic, you're going to think that I'm less than I was 2 minutes before you knew that I was diabetic. I can't reveal that. Why should anybody have to keep parts of their lives that are why should people have to feel like they have to keep their true self hidden? We've seen the pain of that in many different ways. And the same thing around disability.
Yeah, I think that, people, parents and children, children have said that they feel like their parents can now understand better their experience, and parents have said the same. That I think a lot of parents, for instance, whose kids have 504 plans in school, never knew that was even coming from a rights-based model. It seems sort of bureaucratic, People really see disability through this charity model and saw even the ADA as something that was like a nice handout. And so to think about it from a civil rights point of view and to see how that changes people's daily lives here, everything from like politicians at the end of screenings telling us that they were going to go back and advocate for accessible transportation, to a mother who just posted that, after seeing Crip Camp, she started a group and advocated for an accessible playground at her kid's school. That's really, really exciting. And I would say that our short experience seeing the film with crowds convinced us that it is an activating film. I mean, the conversations that happened following the film were rabble-rousing, excited, loud, like empowered conversations. And that's really what we hoped it would do for people. So it is too bad that people have been watching it, individually, but I've seen things like somebody said, at the end of it, they jumped up on their couch and started, yelling and pumping their fist in the air. But I think I'm really looking forward to when it can be, groups like we had a screening at True False where a bunch of disability activists from the local community in Columbia, Missouri came in. And at the end, they were like, they were taking on the university, So that we couldn't be more thrilled than to know that it's having that effect.
Yes, so this is exactly the comment that we have now in the Q&A. Exactly this type of reaction. Your film really opened my mind and totally changed the way I look and think about people with disability. Thank you so much for this. So this is the general reaction that your film is getting. And I want to see if we answered everybody's questions here. So I want to, so we have to wrap up. And I just wanted to thank you both, not just for this conversation, but for spreading your revolutionary spirit throughout the world. And I look forward to your next project, and I hope that you have one. And I hope it's just as revolutionary as this one. So thank you so much. And thank you, and thanks to Doc Aviv for doing this and allowing us the opportunity to meet you and talk about your amazing film.
Thanks, it was great to talk with you.
Yeah, thank you.